Hi my friends, and welcome back to a new YouTube video with me. My name is Leonie, and today I want to show you all the books that I read in October. I actually cannot believe it's already time for another reading wrap up, but here we are, time is running. I read a total of 6 books, some of which were spooky for Halloween, some of which were very popular, and I have one book that might be one of my new favorites. So all in all, it was a great reading month, and I am very excited to show you everything I read, and I hope you enjoy it. So let's get started. The first book is the one that I am most excited about, and I'm gonna start with it because I cannot wait to show you. It's The House in the Cerulean Sea by T.J. Klune. And I know this book is pretty known, it's very popular, I've seen it in many videos, and it's been highly recommended, and I'm probably really late to the party, but I am so glad I finally read it. It is truly a fantastic read. It's a fantasy book, although I would say it's not the main characteristic. Yes, we have fantastic elements, but we are in a regular world. We follow a man called Linus Baker, who is a caseworker at the department in charge of the magical youth. So in this world, it's a regular world like ours, but we have children that have magical powers, magical abilities, that are magical creatures. And Linus Baker's job is to go into orphanages where these kids live and make sure that everything is in order, write a report, and recommend if the place should continue or if it should be closed down, and that's it. And his life is small in that way that he has no family and he doesn't really get too much involved in anything. He just does his job, goes home to his cat, and that's it. Until one day he gets a special assignment from the department that sends him to an island in the Cerulean Sea. On this island there live 6 children, and they are very different from all the magical children he's seen before. I don't want to describe them to you because that will take a lot away. You'll have to read that for yourself, but let me just say they're all very special. And his job is to, live with them for a month and then write his report and make his recommendation in the end. This story was just such a feel-good, heartwarming story. I just loved it, and I fell in love with all the children right away. T.J. Klune just made it so easy, like they were all so lovable. In this book we have topics such as breaking out of your routines, finding a family, standing up for something, being an outcast, how you're being treated if you're different, acceptance. So a lot of topics. And we have also a gay love story. And listen, I'm not a big fan of romance or love stories, which is mainly because a lot of times they go two people meet and they're crazy for each other, and it's all like a lot of drama and a lot of feelings, but I don't buy that all the time. I prefer the love stories that are slower, where you don't really know if the people are actually having feelings for each other. You follow them, and that's kind of the thrill to see where it's going, and you don't know it. So those smaller gestures or smaller sentences have a lot more meaning and emotion for me sometimes than the big make-out scenes, and this is one of those love stories that are slow, and it doesn't take away at all from the main story. So that's what I want to say for now. I just can say that our world is crazy sometimes, and you watch the news and you can get really down. This is the type of book that will pick you up, that will make you feel just good, like wrapped up in a blanket. It made me feel happy. And so if you're ever in a bad place, pick up this book. It was fantastic to me. I gave it 5 out of 5 stars, and it is one of my yearly highlights. Now we get to the spooky Halloween reads. I have 2 of them. The first one being Mexican Gothic by Silvia Moreno-Garcia. We have a young woman called Naomi. She is growing up in the 1950s in Mexico City. So she's Mexican, and she's a socialite. She loves to party. She has new boyfriends all the time. That's kind of her life, until one day her father sends her on a mission to visit her cousin that just got married in the Mexican countryside, because this cousin has sent some very cryptic, very confusing letters that makes them question if she's all right, if she's properly cared for. She's living with her husband and his family, and they're all of English descent. So Naomi agrees. She goes there to her cousin's new family, and right away she can tell that something is off. They live in this old house, rundown house in the countryside, and very secluded. Everybody's really creepy, the people as well as the house. It seems like the house is speaking. We have a head of the household, which is an older gentleman, and he's obsessed with genes and the study of genes, genealogy, and has the view that certain genes are more valuable than others. Just, really odd, creepy people. And Naomi doesn't realize till later that she's slowly becoming a target, and it might be too late for her to break out of this house. This is a Gothic novel. It has all the elements of a Gothic story. So we have the abandoned old house, the scary house that has some supernatural maybe things going on. We have the trapped woman. We have a malicious owner. And all that creates this creepy atmosphere throughout this book. It was, really tangible for me. That's what I loved about it. It wasn't really a lot of action. It wasn't an action-driven book. It wasn't a page-turner for me, but the atmosphere is what pulled me in and what kept me going. Unfortunately, I was not the biggest fan of the main character, but I did appreciate her in the end. And I appreciated also that the author had some explanation for everything that was going on. I do not like ghost stories as much, where it's really something supernatural. Here there was a scientific explanation, so I really enjoyed that, and I think it was a great spooky read. 4 out of 5 stars from me. Then we had Frankenstein by Mary Shelley. So it's a classic, and I love these penguin cloth-bound classic books. In a dream world, I own all of them, and I have a bookshelf with a letter, and I have it in rainbow colors ordered. But yeah, that's my dream. Maybe later in my life I'll get there. For now, we're here with Frankenstein. So classic novels I don't really rate like normal novels, because to me I don't just read them for entertainment. I also read them a little bit for education. And this was very educational for me. I had really no idea about this story. I didn't even know that Frankenstein is not the name of the monster, but of the scientist, the creator. So it's not the creature, but the creator that's called Frankenstein. I didn't even know that. To be honest, I just pictured some crazy scientist that was making this monster, bringing it to life in the thunder and, in some remote castle or something. That's what I pictured. And I didn't know if that was just me. So I asked my husband, and he said, yeah, that's also what he pictures. He pictures like somebody who robs graves to create this zombie. Turns out that's pretty wrong. Frankenstein is actually a very young, a very smart guy who goes to university, and he finds this formula for life in a sense, and he wants to create life. So he creates a creature. There's no real name for it. It's just called creature, and brings it to life. He's so scared of his own creation because of the way he looks that he just abandons it. And there's not much about grave robbing or anything like that. Like, it's not really detailed how he gets the supplies to make his character. That's not what the story is about at all. It's more about the creature and how he lives in a world that hates him because of how he looks, that abandons him, that beats him up because people are just scared of him the way he looks. In the beginning, he's a very emotional, smart creature, and just like the abandonment and hatred of people turns him malicious. So to me, there were so many layers to Frankenstein that I didn't expect. I didn't expect it to be a story of abandonment, of how you go through a world that hates you, of how that makes you really a monster and not, how you were created. And then I was also surprised to find that a big part of this book plays nature. We are in the beginning, believe it or not, in the Antarctic, in the polar region, and we travel through England, through Scotland, or was it Ireland? Sorry, one of the two. We travel through Russia, we're in Switzerland, in Germany, you know, we're all over. I did not expect that either. I don't know, I pictured a remote location somewhere. So I really enjoyed this book. I can truly say that this was not just educational for me. I really did enjoy it, and it was enlightening to see what is truly behind the Frankenstein story. So I don't give it stars, but I did enjoy it. I will just show this one really quickly into the camera. I reread Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone. I'm sure a lot of you have read it too. I am planning a special video about this. I don't want to say too much. If you love Harry Potter, then maybe you want to remember this. Maybe you want to subscribe, I don't know, so you don't miss out on it. But yeah, I don't know yet how I'm going to make it. It's not going to be like a classic book review. So it might be really good or it might be really bad, but we'll see in the future. I just wanted to show it because I did read this book too. All right. And then we have a novel that has been all over BookTube, Book Talk. Some of you may know what I'm talking about. It Starts With Us with Colleen Hoover. If you don't know it, it is the sequel to It Ends With Us. And I read It Ends With Us earlier this year because the first novel I read by Colleen Hoover was Verity, which is a thriller. I love that book and I wanted to read more by the author. Little did I know that she only writes romance and that Verity was really her only thriller. So I gave it a chance. I read It Ends With Us. And I did really like It Ends With Us. It's still a romance, so it will never be my favorite, but I did enjoy it. And I wanted to have closure, so I needed to get It Starts With Us. I did like It Ends With Us better, and I'll explain to you why, but I want to speak out a warning. There will be a lot of spoilers because I cannot really give my opinion on this without talking about It Ends With Us. So if you haven't read this, just skip forward a little bit. All right. So in It Ends With Us, we have Lily and Ryle. Lily and Ryle are in love in this book and they are building their relationship, getting married and everything. And the problem is that at some point Ryle turns violent. So we have an abusive relationship. He, hits Lily, and it is a book really about breaking out of these bad relationships. We also have a backstory in this book about Lily's past, where she was with a guy called Atlas, who was at the time homeless, and there's a whole backstory, and she in the end runs into him again. So it's not really about Lily and Atlas, it's more about Lily and her abusive relationship and how to get out. And I thought that was such an important topic, and I thought that the author did a pretty good job of describing it, that I liked this book and gave it 3 out of 5 stars, which is for me, for romance, very good. Like 3 out of 5 stars is pretty good. Now, It Starts With Us is really the story about Lily and Atlas. So the guy from her past, so it's a second chance love story, and how they make it work, how they get together, and it's not very dramatic. It's really a healing story after everything that went on in It Ends With Us. So to me, the problem was that the reason why I loved the first book was because of the domestic violence and how to get out of an abusive relationship. I thought that was so fantastic. So I was hoping more in this book that we learn a little bit more about how she got out of it, how she's a strong woman, what Ryle is facing, maybe some repercussion for what he did to her. But it's really mostly about Lily and Atlas. So for me, it didn't have the special something that I had in the first novel. However, if you loved Lily and Atlas and you read the first one, you will love this. It's really a healing story. It just, it's feel good watching them grow together and eventually get together. So that's what I want to say. I will give it 2 out of 5 stars, which it sounds worse than it is. I did enjoy reading this and I wanted the closure, but it was to me weaker than this one, so I have to give it a little less. Keep in mind that it's romance, not my genre, so it's actually better than it sounds like. I want to say one last thing about this. When I bought the book, I didn't really realize it was out until I stepped outside and I walked past the bookstore and there were lines just wrapping around the store. And I got so excited because it just makes me happy when a novel or an author causes this hype that people wait in front of a bookstore. You know, bookstores get a lot of traffic. So I am very, very thankful to Colleen Hoover and to the success of her books that a lot of people read and love reading and maybe find back to reading or start reading. So I really respect her for that, and I'm very thankful to see that. The last novel I have here is Out of My Mind by Sharon M. Draper. We have a young girl, her name is Melody, and she is disabled. She sits in a wheelchair, she can't really use her arms and legs that well, she has not much mobility, but she also cannot speak. She cannot tell the world what she's thinking, but in her head there's a lot going on. She's very, very smart, but nobody knows it. Her parents have an idea, but other people not at all. So it's very frustrating for her because she cannot tell people what she wants to say. Until one day, fortunately, she gets a computer that allows her to type in words and sentences and communicate with her environment. So from that moment on, her life changes a little bit, and she can participate in life. However, she still faces a lot of obstacles. People are still cruel, especially high school students. And yeah, it is a novel that is, I think, intended for kids, but the topic is so important, and I think the author did such a good job of showing these real life situations that are really happening that I think it is a very important read. I enjoyed it a lot. I loved to see how Melody is doing, how her life is, and in the end, there was a scene that really broke my heart. I was crying. You know, life is not fair and people can be so cruel, and we all should be nicer to each other and respect people no matter if, you know, they have a disability or not. So in my opinion, it's a book for kids or young adults, but to me it's just an important topic that anybody could read this book, and I loved it. It's 4 out of 5 stars for me. So those were all the books I read this month. I hope you liked my reviews. If you read any of these 6 books, let me know below what you thought about them, or if you liked what I had to say. I hope you have a wonderful week. Stay healthy, stay safe, and I hope to see you soon here. Bye.